Hey everybody, it's Mike from MuckFab. Today we're continuing on our How to TIG Weld for the First Time Beginners series. This should be installment, I think installment 4. So we already covered how to buy a machine, what to look for in a machine, how to wire the machine, all the parts that you need to buy and consumables you need to buy. So those are the previous videos, and in this one we're going to talk about the machine itself and the settings and what they do and what they mean, kind of thing. Kind of like the bare bones version of it. I'm not going to ramble too much and hopefully not get too depth on stuff that you don't need to know. So one thing I do want to cover, I probably should have covered in the last one what to buy videos, but I didn't, and I realized that it was an omission. So we're going to talk about your space, okay? So I'm kind of cramped. I'm a little 24 by 32 shop, and I got the garage in the other end of it, but I have one room here kind of dedicated to my fabrication welding stuff. So what I would like to talk to you about is this table. This is a table that I made specifically for welding. I busted this all out, my design. No one can claim it. It's all mine. And it's important to have a nice table when you're welding. The ABCs of welding. ABC, always be comfortable. So I basically feel like you have two reasons that you want to TIG weld. So one reason is if you want to weld aluminum and steel and stainless steels, but you don't want to swap out gas for each process. I know that can be annoying and expensive. So there's that crowd that they're happy MIG welding. They really, it gets the job done, and that's what they need. Then you got the other crowd that wants their welds generally to look good. So I kind of break it up into those two groups. You got just want to get it done, but I need to do those metals, and it's a huge pain in the ass to have a spool gun, 3 different tanks of gas, and then I have burn through problems on stuff I'm not familiar with. And the other group that's like, I want to TIG weld because it's aesthetic. It looks nice, and I like that. That's kind of what got me into it. Was just I've always been a consumer of welding pornography, and whenever you saw something like cool, I always got like wow, like you can appreciate when someone puts artistry into something, and see the time that they got into it. So anyway, I'd say for the making your welds look good, you need to be in a comfortable space. And that's what your welding table should be about. What I like to do, and how I designed this one, was I got a chair, and I sat down in it, and I figured I want to be, around where I'm comfortable. And I measured that out, and then I said, okay, well, we'll just backwards plan off this measurement. So with this table right here, this is just, I went to a store and I ordered a piece of 1/4-inch steel plate. And some people say you need 3/8. I don't really believe that that's necessary. A good 1/4-inch will work fine. These are, I want to say these tubes still, the square tubing is 1/8 inch. Like everything is 1/8 inch under it. So I've made some gussets. I made my little Monkey Fab logo on these guys, and you'll basically see it's just an A-frame design, and underneath it is a square welded to the top of this steel, and that is just welded. This plate is welded directly on that in just a few places, so I can cut it loose if I wanted to. But the tubing underneath adds rigidity to it. This design, where I didn't, typically you might think that someone would bring the legs all the way out to the corners and drop them down and put reinforcement. What this allows me to do is this lip between this support and that lets me put clamps and stuff on without, having to make up all that monstrous room for the square tubing or whatever you use to guess that. You'll also see down here, there's nothing impeding my feet. All the gusseting is done at the top, so it's sturdy, but my feet can move around, and I can tap my pedal, and do all that good stuff. So the table, it's important. Put some time and consideration into it, and you'll see I also have like piles of aluminum, and I use that for bracing and holding stuff in place, and clamps and that kind of thing. So anyway, take some time to think about what you're trying to weld on. You'll also see my grounding deal over here. It's copper wire. This is a copper bolt with a fastener gone through the table and to the metal, and it's grounded with a real good copper work clamp. These guys, it's almost too good. These things are a pain in the butt to squeeze, but there it is. So oh, and I had Landon, the guy who actually invented these GLS cups. I'll show you one with his sticker on it. This guy, which I love, and they're always on my torch. His buddy makes these little back caps. So he sent me this kind of as just a gift, I guess. And this is his guy, shayspec.com. He's also on Instagram as @shayspec. And if you're looking for cool little back caps for your machine, give him a holler. So anyway, always be comfortable. Think about your workspace. You also see, like, I got the just a tube welded on some plate. I just had some scrap plate left over, something I cut out, and some old tubing that I welded to the thing. This is like some of my first welds, and they're hideous, but everybody learns. Everybody got to learn. Every welding machine is going to be a little bit different, but they're also going to be a little bit the same, if you know what I mean. But you don't know what I mean. That's why you're watching the video. But they're all going to have a lead for your torch. That's what this guy is, and a lead for your gas usually, and there'll be a lead for your grounding clamp and one for your foot pedal. Usually they'll have some kind of diagram that'll show you, what to put where, or it'll say on there, gas and ground or whatever. So just, look at each of your machine. Just look at your machine and kind of figure it out with these. I see a lot of, these used to be not necessarily all that common. Like my first welder didn't have these DINS connectors. It was just like a screw-on kind of deal. On my Miller version, but these guys have these, and I've seen even like the cheap Chinese welders that I bought it was nowhere near as nice or as heavy as this, but it was kind of a version of this guy here. And what this is just your hose that goes to your cable is also a power supply. So it's like, I think that it has like woven, copper all the way around it and whatnot, and that's why if you weld a long time, you can actually weld to where your hose gets hot. But these guys go in here, they just stick them in and then give it a twist, and don't overdo it. I've overdone it once and screwed up one, and it doesn't take much. Is this guy a DINS connector too? It is. So yeah, a lot of these guys have these. The Chinese ones are maybe just a little bit smaller. And so this has plus, a minus. There's a little arrow pointing up that I guess is supposed to mean the pedal, and then there's a little bottle with an arrow next to it, which I don't know. These guys are made in Italy, so who knows what those crazy Italians were thinking. They'll have a panel usually of some sorts. We'll turn this guy on. And we'll shut off my water cooler because it's really kind of loud. It'll go through the cycle and it'll turn on, and the panel will just tell you what you need to know. What I think I'm just going to talk about is just the two different types of modes of welding, which is going to be for welding your stills and for welding your aluminum. And that would be direct current, electrode negative, DC, EN, and AC mode. So the DCEN is basically your power is going through the torch and coming out, and the grounding strap that then is pulling the electricity up in that kind of loop is, I believe, what happens. I could be wrong, but
but basically what's happening is it's putting the heat in your workpiece. So it's the electricity is coming from the torch and it's putting the heat into your metal, whatever that is, and melting that. So that's your DC mode. And this guy, well, let's just talk about that. So then in the AC mode, it uses alternating current. So you go from that direct current where your electricity is just going one way, that's putting the heat into the workpiece, to a alternating current, which means that is putting heat both into your workpiece and into your actual torch. Everybody's interface is going to be a little bit different, and it's just going to be on you to kind of read your directions and figure out what's supposed to be what. They're all going to have ons, so usually that's in the back, some sort of switch or dial or something. When mine comes on, it has like this menu. It'll tell me that the power's on, and it'll have stick, TIG spot, TIG reset, T2, T4, and then it says mode. So all these guys above this is I can scroll through by pushing the mode button. So if I want to do stick welding, I can just put it on stick and change out to my little stinger and do that. Or I could do 4T, which has to do with turning the switch on or clicking the switch basically, and it's like a settings mode. One's like it's like a ramp up feature to a solid state to a ramp down to an off by how you tap it, and it's something we generally don't do, but if you can Google that, and I'm sure someone's done a video on it. TIG spot, I have no idea what that is, and TIG reset, I don't know what that is either. So my 2T is where it stays, means it's using the foot pedal, and I hope you took my advice, and when you got a machine, you got one with a foot pedal, because it makes a world of difference. I got HF, which stands for high frequency, and you just push and hold, yep, and it turns off, or you can push it and it'll turn on. And all that is if I turn that off, then I'm on a lift start, so I'll have to put my tungsten down on whatever I'm wanting to weld, tap the foot pedal, and lift up. And for me, it's not something I really do much of. I've messed around with it. The high frequency is a whole lot easier. I can tell you that for a fact. You can argue that all you want to, but it's just easy when you smash the pedal down and know you're going to get a arc. And that happens 99.9% of the time, unless you mess something up. And then you get shocked, or you just don't have a good ground going on. Okay, so we got pulse. I can turn it on or off. It's got many different settings. Me and pulse, we have like an on again, off again relationship. Sometimes I use it, maybe for months, and sometimes I don't use it. Like I haven't used it probably in a month or two. Basically, on DC mode, the pulse will pulse between a high setting in your amperage and a low setting, and it'll do it for however many times a second you set it up to do. There's benefits to it. There's probably drawbacks to it. There's whatever. You could spend probably hours discussing pulse. For what we're doing is probably not relevant, and I don't think I'm going to talk much more about it other than just going through the settings with it. I've seen these like intelligent kind of flow charts on a lot of the new machines today, and they make sense because basically it's just a little flow chart of everything you would do or how the machine would work through in that sequence, which makes sense. So my machine's on 2T. Some of these, and we'll turn pulse off. And some of these options are just not going to be available to me because, I don't need them, is the honest answer. It's the first light you're going to get is your pre-flow, and that's how long the argon's going to flow before you initiate an arc. I'll typically set that to like 0.2 seconds. I just need it to blow a little argon through the torch to clear out any oxygen that's hanging out down there before the arc initiates. The next option I'm going to get, I think, is a downslope. So I can set the machine to slope down. So if I have my foot pedal and I let off of it completely, it's going to slope from 103 amps to 0 in 3 seconds. I think is around there is what I just set it to. I never use it. Just set that to 0.1. I think that's the lowest it goes. And then the last option we have available is the post flow, and that determines how long the argon is going to shield your weld after you've ended, welding, after you've terminated the arc. And that's all on DCEN. The other guys got like percentage of, I think, start, and then the upslope and downslope and percentage of background. Some of these are available, like the percentage of background I can manipulate when I'm in pulse. You have to go to 4T, which I never do because I don't have a torch switch to set the other, these front ones, the percentage of upslope and the percentage of start current. That stuff, you get lost in the weeds. This being the basic, video, that's what we're going to shoot for. It's just, that's all you need to know. Straight current welding, it's going to be just set your amps, set your pre-flow for about 2 seconds if you have it. If you don't worry about it. And set your post-flow for about 10 seconds is kind of a good starting point. The other thing, so that's all the stuff I need for DC welding. To put to AC mode, all I have to do is turn on my AC mode. It'll usually be a mode button or a switch that you'll flip somewhere to set your machine on AC. The only thing I really need to concern myself on with AC is setting up the AC balance. And that's really primarily it. I mean, the frequency is something you might, concern yourself with, but it's not critical. So I got frequencies first. I'll fluctuate between 60 and 150-ish. It has like a hum to it when you AC weld, and it's just that frequency is how many cycles, just like hertz, right, for electricity. And then the balance, that's the important thing. So all you need to really know is set it for like 65. It's a pretty good setting right there. I usually fluctuate between 70 and 65. Sometimes I'll go. This is set up on percentage of, I think it's the DC. Let's see, 65. Yeah, so it's going to be. It fluctuates between. I'll give it back so you can. So you're not just hearing a voice. Although I think that works pretty good because I don't have sync issues, right? So the balance is a percentage of something. So some machines, like mine, it's a percentage of the DCEN, the direct current electrode negative, because it cycles between that and direct current electrode positive, meaning the electricity is doing what it does. It goes back and forth. It alternates on alternating current. What mine will do is it will have 65% DCEN. So 65% of the time it's going to be putting the heat into the workpiece. Now, if yours is set up on DCEP, then that number is going to flip. You're going to have 35 is going to be your golden number. So I know like the Everlasts are set up that way, and I think that the Alpha Tigs are set up that way. A lot of the Chinese ones are. So know that the easiest way to tell is pick 65, pick 70. Pick 70 and set your stuff up and smash it. Put on about 100 amps, find something to weld onto, like a big piece of aluminum or copper, and just smash it. And if you see your tungsten ball up and start to turn red hot, and the tip of it's quivering all over the place, then you're wrong. you need to go the other way with it. Then your machine's complete opposite, if that makes sense. Because what's happening is it's taking all the heat and it's putting it in your tungsten, and you'll see that, which is a common problem with AC welding when you have too much. They call it cleaning action. It's the lower I go, the more that cleaning action, the more DCEP it has. which is good for some things. If you're welding like old cast stuff, old beat up aluminum, you want to have more cleaning, generally speaking, than you want to have, the penetration into the metal. But I think that explains it. I think you guys should get that. Like, set that and you're good, right? The other thing to know on aluminum is you really don't need a lot at post flow. When I'll do aluminum, I'll set my post flow for like 5 or 6 seconds. Aluminum pulls heat out. That's what it does. It pulls heat and it moves it. It's amazing. It's amazing metal. So that covers, I think, everything with the machine, right? Gas. You see I got a dual head flow meter up there. And yeah, so I can back purge stuff with that. I got that one at USA Welds, same place I got my machine, and it'll split it and send out both sides, which is kind of nice if you have to back purge stuff. And I back purge pretty much all my stills. That's a useful guy to have right there. All those regulators basically fit in. I like these flow ones. You see a little screw nut on the side, and you adjust the nut for how much flow, the little ball bearing in there that goes up and down. That's all there is to that. So let's do some welding, right? So I got this guy set up 2T. It's on high frequency. I'm at 65 amps. And we turned our gas on. The flow on the gas is, I think I was messing with, let me check these guys real quick because I'm going to be all screwed up. Yep, turn that down. Turn that, that's fine. Alright, we don't need that on at all. Good, okay. Alright, so we're at 64 amps, that's pretty good. Well, I'll grab a little piece of stainless steel just as a demo. I got this little piece of copper that I keep on my table. It's kind of handy. It's good for lighting up with the arc, see how the tungsten's gonna do when you do your business with it. And I'm gonna turn my water cooler on because it's obviously a water cooled torch, but it's gonna get a little loud. There we go. And I thought I saw some stainless pieces. My wife's been practicing. It's not too bad for a girl, huh? She's been practicing away. She's going to learn this. She's going to put me out of a job. And maybe I'll get to retire or something. So, we're at 65 amps. Pre-flow is like at 0.1. Post-flow is like 10 seconds. I checked my flow to know the torch is flowing. We got the amp set up. This table's grounded, and I'm just gonna run the bead. Grab some 1/16 wire. I like the 1/16 wire. So that's all there is to it. We just did that little guy right now. I think my wife's ones look better than mine, but I can honestly tell you I'm not trying. So that's my excuse anyway. You weld better than I do. So now we're gonna do aluminum welding. So the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my torch up here. I have a whole video talking about gas coverage on aluminum, and you should check that out. But these GLS cups are not for aluminum. You actually don't want a lot of gas coverage for aluminum. You kind of want the opposite to happen. We'll take my gas lens out, and I'm going to put my little pullet in there.
We'll put in my aluminum welding tungsten, which is called Art Time and is available at Art Zone. And I will just have a little bit of stick out, just not much at all. And then I'm gonna change the gas. We're gonna turn it down to like 12, 15, somewhere in there. That's good. Okay. And then I'm gonna change the machine. I'm just gonna put on AC mode. I'm gonna put the frequency. Let's see, the balance we'll just do 65 like I told you. And the frequency, we'll just set it for 60, which is kind of like your normal old style machine. And then I'm gonna grab some aluminum. Alright, now when I do the aluminum, what you're going to see, and we'll get more in depth to this, I'll probably do like one more video, one on like how to weld mild steel and stainless steel, and one on how to weld aluminum. I'll just keep it real bare bones because there's tons of those out there. What you're going to see is I'm going to light up on this guy. I'm not going to go full current. I'm going to turn my amps up too. So we were at 65, I'm going to go to like 145. Sounds good. This is 1/8. So it's 0.125, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to light up on it just a little bit, right? So I'm just going to let it do like what's called a cleaning action. I'm just going to let it kind of do some frosting stuff, and then after it gets some heat into the metal, I'm going to go ahead and give it the beans, if you will. And get welding moving along. This is a common mistake I see a lot of people have with aluminum, is they just mat the pedal and they try to shove filler in there, and the aluminum's cold. It won't puddle. It won't take the filler. The filler turns into a big blob of burnt gray mess, and that's no good. So here you go. See, I was probably still going to pull on the start there too. I could have camped out probably for another second or two on that guy, but as heat built up, it kind of cleaned up as I went along there and made it, better looking. But that's it. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know to start welding at home. Hopefully I had enough information in this video to kind of put it together coherently. I think I covered everything that you need to know as far as how to set the dials up, what they mean, the difference between DC mode and AC mode, and that's about it. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in to Monkey Fab.